Buenos días.
Good morning.
Buenos días a todas, a
Good
todos.
morning,
Vamos a
everyone.
dar comienzo
Let's
a
begin
esta jornada
with this
de inteligencia
session
artificial
of
en los centros de trabajo
AI
y no
in
puede
the
venir y
workplace.
llegar en un momento
And
más
it couldn't
oportuno
come in a
que
best
ahora
moment
cuando
as it
se
is
acaba
now,
de aprobar
since we
la Ley
just
Europea
passed the
de
European
Inteligencia
law
Artificial.
on artificial
Em,
intelligence, on AI.
Voy a comenzar
I
dando
will
la
start
palabra a
giving the
la
floor to
vicelendakari
Second
segunda
Vice Linda
consejera de
Kari
Empleo y
and Minister
Trabajo,
of Labor
Idoia
and
Mendia,
Employment,
que
Idoia
tenemos el
Mendia.
honor de que
We
haya
have the
hecho un hueco
honor
en su apretadísima
of
agenda
having
para
her
venir hoy
here
a
because he made
acompañarnos
some
a
room in
inaugurar
her
estas
agenda
jornadas
to open this
que no
session,
podrían haber sido posibles si no
which
hubiera
wouldn't be
sido
possible
con la
without
ayuda
the
y soporte
assistance and
del gobierno
support
vasco, al cual
of the
estamos muy
Basque
agradecidos por
government,
todas las
to which we are
gestiones
very
y por la
thankful for all
amabilidad
the
que ha tenido
management
en
and the
acogernos
kindness
en
they
la
have had
maravillosa ciudad de
in
Bilbao
hosting us in the
y
wonderful
esperamos que
city
sea
of
la
Bilbao.
primera de
We hope it
muchas
to be the first
colaboraciones que
of
podamos
many
tener en el futuro
collaborations that we can
con este
celebrate
tema y
in the
otros
future
muchos que
regarding this
afectan
topic
a
and many
funcionarios,
others that
directivos
affect
técnicos y cuadros
professionals,
y a clase
managers,
trabajadora en
and the
general.
working class.
Paula.
Thank you, Paula.
Good morning to everyone. And well, first of all, welcome to Skadi. And we are going to enjoy wonderful weather, which is not very normal at this time in this city. So I recommend you to enjoy the city and enjoy these days. And thank you especially for bringing us closer to the most important thoughts we must carry out today in Europe. How to make artificial intelligence an ally as to see, is, to see it as an opportunity in our lives and not the enemy for everyone fears. We have give answers to fears to face the risk of those who want to end Europe as we know. Adimen artifiziala hemen dago. Hainbat modutan sartu da gure etxeetan, gure lanetan eta gure bizimoduan. Bideak irekitzen joan dira gure telefonoetan eta
The
baita ere
speaker
gure
is
autoetan.
speaking in
Gauza
Basque
asko
language.
gertatu dizkigu, baina une honetan fase erabakigarrian gaude. Oso denbora gutxian ezagutzen dugun bizitza osoan nola eragingo duen aukeratu beharko dugu. Baina batez ere gure enpleguetan nola eragingo duen. Erantzunak emateko unea da eta Euskadin prest gaude Europari hausnarketa hori ekartzeko. Porque lo suelo decir yo muchas veces a
I
mis
usually
colegas
say this to
del
my
Departamento del
colleagues in the
Gobierno.
department
Estamos
of the
viviendo
government. We are living
la revolución
the
económica y
revolution, the
social
economical
más
revolution,
profunda
social
de la
revolution,
historia.
the deepest one
No
in
solo por la
history,
intensidad de los
not only
cambios, sino
because of the
sobre todo
intensity
por la
of
velocidad
changes,
a la
but
que se
also
están
for the speed
produciendo.
at which they are
Sabíamos
taking
que iba a
place.
llegar este
We
momento,
knew that
no
this moment would
sabíamos
arrive.
cómo y
We
tampoco
didn't
ahora
know
podemos
when
ser muy
and how,
exactos
but
a la hora de
now we
decir qué
cannot be
empleos se
very
van a ver
precise
afectados
to say
totalmente y
which
hasta qué punto.
professions will be affected and
Nos
to what
aproximamos
extent.
más en
We
los
are getting
pronósticos,
closer
pero
in
nadie
our
está en
forecasts,
condiciones de
but
hacer
nobody
pronósticos
can
totalmente
make
certeros.
a
Lo que sí
100%
podemos hacer, y además
accurate
es una obligación
forecast, but we have
hacerlo, es
an
adaptar
obligation
todas
to
nuestras
adapt
estructuras
all of
para
our
que el
structures
resultado sea
so that
sobre
the
todo
result is
socialmente justo,
especially
para
socially
descartar
fair,
nuevas
to
brechas,
discard
para
new
garantizar la
breaches, to
integridad de las
ensure
personas
people
trabajadoras, su
integrity,
salud,
workers'
su
integrity, their
bienestar
health, their
y
well-being,
sobre todo sus
and especially
derechos.
their
Ya
rights.
teníamos muchas pistas
We
para
have
saber
many
que este
hints
momento
to see
llegaría.
that this moment would
Internet
arrive.
pues, iba
Internet
abriendo paso en nuestras
was
vidas de una
opening in
manera
our
arrolladora, ya no solo
lives,
en el trabajo, sino
not only
también
at
en los
work, but
hogares,
also in
en
our
nuestro
homes,
ocio
in
y
our
se
leisure,
generalizó
and
al
it became
conjunto de
more
la
general
población hace
to
ya
the
muchos
whole
años.
assembly of the
Un tiempo
population
en el
more
que
than
ya
10 years
hemos
ago.
visto sus inmensas
A period where
posibilidades,
we
su
have seen
capacidad de
the immense
facilitarnos
opportunities
muchas
it
tareas,
has
pero
to
también
facilitate
sus
many
grandes
works,
riesgos,
but also
abriendo
the
nuevas
great
formas
risk
de
opening
desigualdad,
new
las
ways of
conocidas
inequality that
brechas.
we didn't know at that
Muchos de
moment.
esos riesgos los
Many of those
intentamos
risks
atajar con los recursos
are
disponibles
tackled
que
with the
tenemos en la
available
actualidad.
resources we have at the moment.
Nosotros aquí en Euskadi pues
Here
tratamos
in
de combatir
Euskadi,
la
we try to
discriminación
fight
por edad, esa
discrimination by
tentación de
age,
desplazar a
that
trabajadores de
temptation
más
of
edad
moving
porque las
people
empresas
who
creen
are
que no son
older
capaces de
because
adaptarse a los
they
cambios
believe they are
y
not
lo
capable of
combatimos
adapting to the
con
changes.
planes
And we fight against
específicos
this
para
with specific
reincorporar
plans to reincorporate
mayores de 50 años a las
people over
empresas
50
vascas
years old to
o
Basque
también
companies.
impulsando
And also we
la formación
promote
permanente y actualizada,
permanent training and
potenciando los
updating,
formatos, por ejemplo, bootcamps
boosting
tecnológicos, con
bootcamps,
la
technological
garantía
bootcamps,
con la nueva
ensuring
ley de empleo
also with the
vasca de
new
un nuevo
Basque
derecho de
employment law
ciudadanía y es
of a
que
new
todas las
citizenship law
personas en el
that
País Vasco
all
van a poder
people in
acceder a
Basque
una
country will
formación
have
y
access
orientación
to a training
personalizada
and personalized
adaptada a
guidance
sus
adapted
circunstancias
to their
personales.
personal
Y, por
circumstances.
supuesto, con
And of
una
course,
estrategia
with
de
a
seguridad y salud en
strategy
el trabajo
based on
que ha
safety
cambiado el
and health at
paradigma de
work
la
that has changed the
prevención y se
paradigm
centra
of
en
prevention
garantizar el
and is
bienestar de los
focusing on
trabajadores
well-being of workers
en todo momento,
at
desde
every
su
moment,
prevención a los
especially
riesgos psicosociales
regarding
que últimamente
psychosocial
están
hazards that are growing a
Estas
lot
son algunas de
recently.
las
These are
aportaciones
some
que
of
hemos
the
venido realizando
parts that
desde
we
el
have been
País
doing
Vasco
from the
y
Basque
todas ellas
country, and all of
las
them
hemos hecho de la mano
have
de la
been
Mesa
done
de Diálogo
together
Social,
with the
de la
social dialogue
implicación activa y
table, with the
comprometida
social
de
involvement
empresas y
of
sindicatos en las
companies
políticas
and trade
públicas que
unions in
desarrollamos
public
en el
policies that
Gobierno
we
vasco.
develop in the
Pero
Basque
hemos sido
government.
conscientes en todo
However, we
momento
have been aware at
de este
every
momento
given moment
crucial que
of
vive el
this
mundo hoy, la
milestone
profunda
that the world is
transformación en
living,
la que
this deep
estamos inmersos.
transformation
Por
which
eso,
we are living.
hace un año más o
That's why,
menos,
like a
pusimos
year
en
ago,
primera línea de la
we put
agenda
in the
del
first line
Working
of the
Land
agenda
Summit,
with the
un evento
Working Land Summit
internacional en el que
a
presentamos
social
el libro blanco
international event.
europeo de
We
Euskadi, un
showed
análisis
the first
muy
white
detallado
book in
de cómo
Scouty, a very
somos,
detailed analysis
pero
on
sobre
how we
todo de
are, and
cómo
especially
queremos
on
ser en el
how
futuro.
we want to be in the
Y con el
future.
tiempo se han
And over
incorporado más
time, we
estudios
have
internacionales
incorporated
que
more
cada vez
international
aportan
studies that
más luz y
offer
más
more
información
light,
más
that
precisa
shed more
sobre
accurate
cómo la
light
inteligencia
on how
artificial
AI
va a desplazar
will
algunos
displace
empleos,
some
pero
employment.
también que va a
However,
crear otros
it will
nuevos,
create
más
other
incluso
new
de los que
employments
puedan
more
llegar a
than
desaparecer.
those that will
Y este es un
disappear.
mensaje que
And
creo
this
que hay
is a
que
message
repetir
that
con
I
mucha
want to repeat
insistencia, más
very
incluso que las
as many times as
alegaciones.
is needed, more
Pero
than
porque
a
creo que
message
es
of alert, because
responsabilidad
I
de los
believe it's
gobiernos, de las
the
empresas y
liability
de los
of companies,
sindicatos
of governments, and
lanzar
of
un
trade unions
mensaje
to
optimista,
launch an
de ver las
optimistic
oportunidades
message, to
y
see the
trabajar porque
opportunities
se hagan
and work
realidad.
to make them
No bastan
true.
solo nuestras
It's not
acciones y la
only about
ciudadanía
our
en general,
actions
los
and the
trabajadores
actions of the
particular no
citizenship.
conocen
Workers
los datos
in
de los
general
riesgos
don't
y de
know
las
the
oportunidades.
risks and the
Por eso
opportunities.
hace
That's
un
why
año y medio en uno de
we,
nuestros congresos
a year and a half
anuales de
ago,
empleo,
in
la
our
Fundación
yearly
Cotec nos
summits,
ofreció unos
the
datos
Cotec
muy
Foundation
relevantes y
offered
muy
some relevant
interesantes
data regarding
sobre esa percepción
that
que tiene la
perception
ciudadanía
that
sobre la
citizenship
tecnología.
have
En
on
Euskadi,
technology.
el
In Euskadi,
75% de la ciudadanía cree que
75%
la
of
innovación
citizens
es
believe that
positiva,
innovation is
pero
positive,
solo el
but only
56% cree que más
56%
tecnología
believe that more
lleva a más
technology will
desigualdad.
lead to more
Puede
inequality.
parecer a primera vista
It
un dato muy
seems
tranquilizador, hasta
quite
optimista sobre la actitud de la
peaceful, these
ciudadanía
data
vasca
regarding the
ante los
attitude of
cambios que
Basque
vienen,
citizens
porque
regarding
se
the
asume
changes
que
we
la
have ahead of
pérdida
us,
de
but we
empleos
assume
se
that the loss of
compensarán con otros
employment will be
nuevos.
compensated with
Pero a
new
pesar de que el
employment.
69%
However,
de las
even if
personas
69% of the people
consideran que la mayoría de
believe
los
that
puestos de
most
trabajo
of the
son
job positions
automatizables,
can be
la mitad de
automated,
ellos cree
half of them
que el
believe
suyo de
that
ninguna manera
their
va a
job
ser sustituido
won't
por una
be
máquina y
replaced
una
by a
tercera
machine,
parte
and a
cree
third
que
part
solo le
believes
afectará
that
pues, en cosas muy
they will
rutinarias.
only be affected in very
Podemos
routine
quedarnos en que la
tasks.
ciudadanía
We can
confía en
keep
lo que
that
hagamos
citizens believe
desde los
in what
gobiernos
do
y
from the
con la
governments
ayuda de los
and with
agentes
the help of
sociales.
the social
Y diré que
agents.
es una buena
I'd
noticia,
say
pero en
this is
estos
good
tiempos
news
en que se
because
intentan
in the
sembrar
times where
tantas
we are trying to
desconfianzas, pues hay
create
este nivel de confianza.
lack of trust,
Pero
there we
sí
have
quiero
a
añadir
level
que
of
sí
trust.
debería
But I
de
have to add
preocuparnos que
that
no
we need
esté
to be concerned
extendida la conciencia social
the
de la
extension
necesidad de
of the
adaptarse
widespread
razonablemente
of
a los
the need
cambios,
of
de
adapting
saber
to
que sí,
changes,
que el
of knowing
futuro
that
tal
your
vez sea
position may
sustituido y
be
que
replaced
necesitas actualizar tus
and that you need to
conocimientos o
update your
tus
knowledge
habilidades.
or your skills.
Pero vamos a ir a la parte de la
But let's
confianza,
go
la de las
to the
respuestas
part
que
of trust,
debemos
the response
ofrecer a
that
la
we need to
pregunta que
offer
motiva este
to the
encuentro que
question
tenemos
that
hoy en Bilbao.
creates this
¿Cuáles
encounter.
son los siguientes
Which
pasos
are
para
the
proteger a
following
las
steps
personas
we need to
trabajadoras
take to protect
europeas?
workers in Europe?
Porque ya hemos dado un gran
Because we have
paso, del que
have
seguro
already
que
taken a
hablaréis
great
hoy
leap,
aquí, ¿no?
which we will
Bajo la
mention today, I'm
presidencia
sure about it.
española,
Under the
Europa
Spanish
se
presidency,
convirtió en la
Europe
primera
became the
comunidad
first
política en
political
garantizar los
community
derechos
to ensure
esenciales al
the basic
regular la
rights
aplicación de la
regulating the
inteligencia
application
artificial.
of AI.
La ley va a ser
The
muy estricta
law
en
will be
mirar
very
los riesgos
strict
para
when
esos
watching
derechos, incluso
on the risk of
prohibiendo
those
algunas
rights and even
prácticas que ya se
prohibiting some
estaban
practices that
utilizando entre
already
nosotros,
were
como la
sliding in
utilización
our
de los datos
day-to-day basis, like the
biométricos.
using of
Pero este
biometric
marco hay que
data.
seguir
But this framework
profundizando en el
needs
ámbito
to be
laboral.
landed in
No
the
solo
work
hablamos del
environment.
impacto en
We
el
are not talking
empleo,
only
sino de
about the
cómo
impact on
afecta a
employment,
la
but also
calidad
on
del
how it
desempleo. El
impacts
reto inmediato
the
de
quality
Europa
of
debe ser
employment.
garantizar
The
los
immediate
derechos
chance of Europe
laborales
must to
conquistados a lo
ensure
largo de este tiempo,
the worker
impedir que se
rights,
utilicen los algoritmos como
impede
herramienta de
algorithms
discriminación en el
to
acceso
be
al
used
empleo
as a
y
discrimination
abordar de
tool
forma
in terms of
radical
employment
la
and
prevención
to
de
approach
riesgos
the
psicosociales.
prevention of
Porque no olvidamos
psychosocial risks,
que
because we
las
don't
bajas por
forget
salud mental
that
se han duplicado en los
sick
últimos
leaves
6
have
años y, sin
duplicated over the
embargo, no
last
se
few
está
years.
reconociendo en demasiadas
However, this has not
ocasiones
been
su
recognized in many
causa
cases,
laboral.
the reason, the
Así que es
labor
necesario
reason.
repetir
That's
que
why we
cuantas
need to
veces sea
repeat as
necesario
many
que la
times
salud
as
de
it
quienes
takes that
trabajan
the health
no
of
solo es
those
un
people that
derecho
work
que es
is not
otorgado para
only a
empezar,
right that
sino
needs
que
to
es
be
una
ensured,
inversión para las
but also
empresas que
an
incorporarán
investment
a
for
sus
companies that will
plantillas
find in
dispuestas
their
a pleno
staff
rendimiento
a
y gente que
willingness
sí saben
to
cuidarlas bien.
work
Y es que
if they know
tenemos que
how to
llegar
take
hasta
care
la
of them.
última
And we need to
empresa. Tenemos
get
que
up to the
facilitarles
last final
herramientas para que puedan
company.
adaptarse
We
a
need to
estos
facilitate
cambios,
tools
mirando
so they
sobre
can
todo a
adapt
las
to
personas
these
que
changes,
trabajan
especially
en
looking
ellas.
at those
Además
who
de la
work
inversión en
there.
herramientas
Apart from the
digitales, deben
investment in
invertir en
digital tools,
capital
they need also to
humano como
invest
su
in
principal
human
valor
capital as their
competitivo.
main competitive asset.
Y ese capital
And that
humano,
human
que es su
capital,
mayor valor, hay
which
que
is their main asset,
fortalecerlo el tránsito hacia
needs
una
to
nueva
favorize
cultura
the
empresarial,
transition to a
donde
new
se puedan
business
incluir
culture
fórmulas
where
de
we can
mayor
include
bienestar para las
well-being
personas,
formulas
mayor
for people,
satisfacción y
more
compromiso de las
satisfaction, and more
plantillas
engagement of the
y también de
staff, and
participación
also
directa de los
direct
trabajadores
involvement of
cuando se
workers
toman
when
decisiones
we
estratégicas
make
sobre el futuro
strategic
de las
decisions about
empresas.
the
Eso
future of
es lo que
companies.
también vamos
That's
a
what we
ensayar en
also need
Euskadi
to
durante los
trial
próximos tres
in
años,
Euskadi over the
que
next three
sea un
years,
instrumento
so
al
it
final que
becomes a
facilite a
tool that
empresas y sindicatos
facilitates
la negociación
trade
colectiva
unions and companies
en
the
estos
collective
tiempos tan
agreement
cambiantes.
in
Y será
these
también
changing
una
times.
cuestión
It will be
que deberá
also
formar
a
parte de los
question that will
trabajos de
need
la
to
mesa de
become a
diálogo
part
social
of the
para
dialogue
influenciar las
table
políticas
to
públicas
just guide
hacia la doble
public policies
garantía de
towards this double
productividad
guarantee of
y derechos.
productivity and
Así
rights.
que, bueno, amigos y
Well,
amigas, tenemos
friends,
unas muy buenas
we have
bases para
got some good
abordar esta
bases,
jornada y
some
que sea
pillars to approach
productiva,
this day
interesante
and
y
make it
cuyas
productive and
conclusiones,
interesting, and
bueno,
which
nos ayuden
conclusions
a los
will help
diferentes
us
gobiernos
to
europeos a
different
seguir
governments of
avanzando
Europe
en
to advance
no perder la batalla
when
por
not
la
losing the
tecnología,
battle
por la
with
inteligencia
technology,
artificial en
with
beneficio de
AI
nuestras
in the
sociedades y
benefit
para
of
que
our
Europa crezca
societies so that
mucho,
Europe
pero por
is
supuesto
taking a
también
lot
no
of
perder la
in
batalla
this.
de los
But
derechos de
also
los
we don't
trabajadores.
need to lose
Así que muchas
the
gracias
fight
y buena jornada.
against, well, the fight in favor of labor rights. Thank you and enjoy the day.
Es que ricasco, muchas gracias
Thank
por
you very much,
asistir
Vitel
y
Necari,
acompañarnos
for
esta
attending,
mañana.
for joining us
Haremos
today.
llegar al
We
Gobierno, por
will,
supuesto, las
of course,
conclusiones
send the
de
conclusions to the
estas
Basque government of
jornadas que
these
seguramente van a
sessions.
ser muy
That,
interesantes,
of
muy
course, will be very
enriquecedores
interesting and will
en
very
debate, en
enriching
diálogo
and
de
will
cara a la
provide
negociación de las
support
condiciones
the
laborales
debate regarding the
futuras de las
conditions
personas
of
trabajadoras
workers
de este país y de
of
Europa
this
en
country
general,
and in
puesto
Europe
que
in
estamos en
general,
el ámbito
because we
europeo,
are within the
que
European
es
framework
donde tenemos que
where we have
profundizar
to
para que los
delve
marcos regulatorios
because the
lleguen
regulatory
a los
framework
países
need to reach the
depurados,
countries
sobre todo
in
con
a
la
very refined manner
coordinación
and with the
de los agentes
help of the
sociales
social stakeholders,
nacionales a través de,
national
por ejemplo,
stakeholders,
de
through
nuestras
organizations
Eurocadres. Nos ponemos a
like ours,
disposición,
like
por supuesto,
Eurocadres. So
para
you are
cualquier
at your
cosa
disposal
que
for
podáis
anything
necesitar
that you
o
would
que
need
podáis
or that you could
demandar
need
de
or that you can
nosotros.
demand
Además,
from us.
sé que
With
la
further ado,
vicepresidenta tiene una
I know that
agenda
Vitalina Dagari has
muy
a very
apretada y que va a
tight
tener que
agenda
organizar, con lo
and
cual
she needs
paso
to
la
leave.
palabra a la
So I'll give the
presidenta
floor to
de
the president
Eurocadres, Naila
of
Gles,
Eurocadres, Naila
para
Gles,
dirigirnos unas
who will
palabras de
say
apertura.
some
Eskerrik
words
asko.
for opening this session. Eskerrik asko.
Egun on and Skerik ask go. Dear colleagues, dear guests, you're very welcome to today's event, Artificial Intelligence in the Workplace, What Next for the Protection of European Workers, which we are delighted to be co-hosting with the Basque government in the beautiful Bilbao. My name is Naila Gles, and I am the president of Eurocad, the European Council for Professional and Managers, which is a recognized social partner and one of the many unions advocating for safeguards for workers in the digital world of work. Working in Belgium capital, Brussels, has meant that much of our work has been tailored towards AI in the last few years. With a big importance placed on emergent technologies, not just coming from trade unions, but also from industry representatives and the European institutions. As I'm sure we are all aware, the European Union has recently adopted the famous AI Act. It is a historic text which will be remembered as one of the most lobbied on pieces of legislation Brussels has ever seen. While this is a welcome development, as trade unionists, we have concerns regarding the product-focused direction of the Act. I will thankfully be saving you all from our full analysis, but our position is to see the adopted text as a precursor to more action. A central component of our discussions today will be the impact of AI and digitalization more generally on workers' health and safety. And we believe that this is precisely where these topics must be discussed and viewed as occupational health and safety issue. Managerial staff ranks second in all professions for weekly hours worked on average in Europe, 43.3, while 44% of managers work outside working hours because they are unable or it is impossible to complete the tasks within working hours. 67% of managers feeling obliged to respond to communication outside working hours, with evidence showing the impact of this. Digitalization, while not being the sole cause of these statistics, are a significant contributor to the always-on culture that we are facing now. During COVID, our new working practices were expected to deliver more autonomy, flexibility, and leisure time for workers in Europe, yet that has not been materialized. While many pontificate that AI will deliver the same, its application, as with the application of all the digital tools, by the way, needs to be centered around bettering the situation of workers, not solely to chase unrealistic productivity or shareholder profits. Workers must have an active role deciding how these technologies change their daily lives. They must be empowered to seize the opportunities that digitalization presents. They must be aware of how surveillance and monitoring is conducted, able to object to bad practices, and above all else, offer the expertise and protection they deserve. Failure to do so will result in further declining mental health outcomes, continued burnout of our workforce, longer hours, and less work-life satisfaction. Our challenge as trade unions and as workers is to steer a path to a better world of work. It's not easy, but that's why we've gathered such experts to today's event. So I'm delighted to be joined by excellent speakers and excited to hear the contributions from the floor as well. So without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Johan Holm, who should be online, I hope, Associate Professor at Umeå University. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the welcome. I will just adjust, yeah, so you see me. Y muchas gracias por la invitación. Lo siento, no poder estar
Thank you for the invitation. I'm sorry for not being able to join you today in Bilbao, or at least here it's sunny too, but it's a bit colder, I guess, than Bilbao.
I will switch to English now, but yeah, I will talk about algorithmic management and health, more maybe in general than specific, but some specifics about mental health also. And I will share with you my PowerPoint. Just see that it works now. So hopefully you can see the picture. Yeah, as I said, I'm a legal researcher at the University of Umeå in northern Sweden, and I'm going to talk about this topic. As you said, it's very it's very current today with the AI Act and news about algorithm and artificial intelligence ever present. As if you the news about the use of AI and other digital technologies to monitor, control, and direct workers are not hard to find. First, maybe it was first acknowledged in the platform industry, like in Uber and Deliveroo and these kinds of of services, but also in other companies where maybe Amazon has become an maybe the most common example to find that they have used digital technologies to track and recruit and even fire workers. Uh, and this, of course, has led to health problems, has also been shown early. But also with the onset of the pandemic, nervous employers uh, became nervous employers became stressed that they couldn't see what their workers really were doing. So there's been a rise in many kinds of monitoring software to like track keystrokes and look what the workers are doing at different times. Uh, so this is just some examples, but I could find it's no end to the examples. And of course, this begs the question: what is this? What should it call it? And in the research sphere, it's more and more common to talk about algorithmic management instead of use of AI in the workplace, because this is maybe a better way to describe what is really the happening. And algorithmic management, it's not easy to to define the not or it's but it's not one single definition of algorithmic management, and that is not unsurprising, as even artificial intelligence is not a concept that has one single definition. There's a lot of definitions of that. But algorithmic management could be described as, in a short definition, is uh, the use of digital technologies that support, augment, or automate managerial functions. Here, it's important to note that complete automation is maybe not common or even possible in most way. So mostly these technologies are used to to partially automate or to support decision making and surveillance and that kind. But to be more, you could also elaborate a bit more about what this is. That it's about the collecting and processing of data with the purpose of managing work performance or behavior, and this can be done by functions such as organizing, monitoring, controlling, or evaluating, or applying that information to support uh, augment or fully automate decision that affect employment and working conditions. And here it should also be noted that there's like two important parts, or it's one is the collecting part, and this the surveillance and just to collect the information, this has effects in itself, but there may be what is more new is that you can also process this information to make decisions. And this with this definition, you cover both the kind of technology that uses an AI or black box mechanics, where you like feed a lot of data in it and the system in itself identifies patterns and make decisions. But algorithmic management could also be pre-programmed, that is some kind of expert system that you have rules from the start to say if you're late 5 times, you get fired or something. Then it's not really an AI system, but still the effects will be similar. That's why it's maybe better to talk about algorithmic management in general, as also is done in some legal texts now. But even if I said this is a lot going on, maybe you can think, is this really something new to have these kind of control systems of workers. And you can say that work has for a long time been subject to different kinds of rational control, that you can say that algorithmic management, it's one kind. And of course, the like assembly line in the beginning of the 20th century, this used a form of technical control that allowed employers to set a machine-driven pace by the workers, which changed their workers' perception of space by making it harder for them to order around, to chat with co-workers, and like the worker became nearly as locked in place as the machinery. And with this technical control, the employers, they can direct workers through technologies that drive them to perform at certain rates. And of course, other parts of this, like the surveillance part with the panopticon ideas with Bentham, that was actually first used in factories before it was used in prisons, that you have a single observer in the middle that you don't know if he's observing you or not. This is also some kind of of technical control over you. Um, and of course the punch clock, and that controls exactly when you enter and leave work. And but apart from this technical control, you can also talk about bureaucratic control that uses an impersonal and formal system of rules, procedures, and roles to guide worker behavior. Uh, so this is like these older kinds of control mechanism, the technical and bureaucratic control, they have something in common with the algorithmic management, but still maybe there's something really new with this. Uh, and in the literature, when you study this, it's talked about that uh, part that can set algorithmic managements apart from these older types of control is that the algorithms and the data they process are often more comprehensive than any kind of technology mobilized for technical or bureaucratic control. Cameras, sensors, audio devices can now record workers' bodily movements and speech to provide evidence of worker adherence to or departure from production routines. Text data, video-based recognition technique, and natural language processing algorithms can monitor email or chat in real time to assess employee mood, productivity, and turnover intent. So this is like everything could be monitored. It's like comprehensive. It would be too resource take too much resources. You would actually have to have like one supervisor for each worker to have this kind of comprehensive surveillance that you can achieve with these technical systems and algorithms. And also one thing that sets it apart is that algorithm can typically provide instantaneous feedback. You directly get feedback. Digital system can compute in no time and save and communicate real-time information with workers and managers, including client comments, completion rates, or number of page views. So even you can first collect all the data in a comprehensive way, and then you can process it and give instantaneous feedback to the workers. And thirdly, you can say that algorithm can promote interactivity, especially when used in conjunction with algorithmically mediated platforms that provide data from multiple parties. Employers can use algorithmically powered chatbots to monitor chat channels and interactively prompt groups to pause or take a poll regarding next step, or even adjust the team hierarchy or workflow depending on inputted information. So you could change the system in a way and make workers in a way. This could be good or bad, but you could also involve workers in a way in the work organization in a in an interactive manner here. And this is very true for AI system, that there usually are that they can be opaque, the algorithms that direct work. And this is for three main reasons. Sometimes it's intentional secrecy and the technical literacy that it's required to understand the algorithm, and also the opacity of machine learning. The data and algorithms used to collect and analyze behavior data are usually proprietary and undisclosed. Uh, uh, it could be a company providing algorithms to an employer, and even the employer doesn't know what how the system works, because this is a trade secret of the company providing the algorithm. And also, in addition, given the complexity of the technologies, most workers do not fully grasp what kind of data are being collected about them, how it's being used, or how to context the data. So you would have to have know more about technical details maybe to understand how this could be used. And also, in the context of machine learning, one AI technique uh, that provides a model without using explicit instruction, instead relying on patterns and interference between different parameters. Uh, these algorithms can be particularly difficult to decipher. The analogy that it's used is always this black box. It comes in a lot of things and something come out, but you don't really know how the AI system has come to this decision. And of course, this is something different than other types of control. To look a little more about how these algorithmic systems work, you can talk about three R's in a way, and this is they use different mechanisms to direct, evaluate, and discipline workers. And the direction is done by recommending and restricting. And algorithmic recommending entails that employers using algorithms to offer suggestions intended to prompt the target worker to make decisions preferred by the choice architect. Unlike previous regimes of rational control, however, algorithmic recommending frequently guides workers' decisions by automatically finding patterns in the data, often through machine learning algorithms that operate without using explicit instructions, relying on patterns and interference to present workers with choices and opportunities pre-selected by the algorithms. Another mechanism is algorithmic restriction that employers are using to direct the work of workers. This allows restriction of information to be incorporated instantaneously and covertly into the work process. For example, platforms such as Uber used algorithms to narrow shift choices, ride choices, or delivery choices to smooth service offerings. So you can choose, but it's guided by the system what you can choose from. And the evaluation of workers is done by recording and rating. And this algorithmic recording, this is use of computational procedures to monitor, aggregate, and report, often in real time, a wide range of finely grained data from internal, external sources. Employers frequently use algorithmic recording to track a wider range of worker behaviors than in technical and bureaucratic systems. For example, some organizations have developed algorithms to monitor collective language and analyze sentiments in team chat interference. So this is a whole other level of how you can see how how much you can record, of course. And rating is also a mechanism used to guide worker behaviors. Uh, Managers are now often using computational technologies that gather ratings and rankings to calculate some measures of workers' performance, as well as predictive analytics to predict measures of their future performance. Algorithmic rating can provide ongoing aggregation and qualitative and quantitative feedback about worker performance from both internal and external sources. For instance, most online marketplaces and online labor markets, such as Amazon, Craigslist, and Upwork, have user-generated rating systems. Discipline is mainly obtained by replacing and rewarding. And the algorithmic replacing, this is the use of to automatically fire underperforming workers from the organization and replaces them with substitute workers. Algorithmic replacement uh, in it's mainly used in platform work where you can automatically kick workers from the platforms when their ratings drop below a certain levels. And also, if you have this, the replacement is not only in this in the that termination is easy. It could also be easy to recruit workers because the tasks are very small and can be divided in small parts, and you can at real time recruit new workers to perform the work. Uh, Rewarding is another mechanism used by managers to discipline worker behavior. And here, algorithms can use interactively and dynamically to reward high performing workers with more opportunities, higher pay, and promotions. And these rewarding systems can provide rewards and penalties in real time for behaviors that comply with predefined correct behaviors. In labor markets such as Amazon, Mechanical Turk, Uber, uh, and others, workers who complied with algorithmic assignment were immediately rewarded with more work, higher pay, increased flexibility. Uh, also you can use gamification to push workers to work more. So we have these new kind of control mechanism, the algorithm or the technical system, computational system, the algorithmic management. And this, of course, begs the questions: how will this affect workers, even if some ideas already have come? And as a part of I'm part of a big 6-year project called Algorithmic Management at Work: Challenges, Opportunities, and Strategies for Occupational Safety and Health and Well-being. And this is actually guided from a medical university in Stockholm, Karolinska Institutet, and we have people from all different disciplines, including medicine, human-computer interaction, industrial relation, psychology, law, and also participants from all over the world: Spain, Canada, Sweden, Australia, etc. And then this program, this research program, our aim is to improve data knowledge about algorithmic management, especially in non-platform sectors, and its effect on health, safety, and well-being, as well as to develop risk-reducing tools and strategies. And this is mainly by to make a standard how to measure AM at work and related risks for health, safety, and well-being, and also uh, by to increase the knowledge about the effects of algorithmic management on workers' health, safety, and well-being, and also investigate how a balance of interest related to the control of algorithms in different legal contexts regarding occupational safety and health. And there at the bottom you can see the risk. But as you saw, this is a newly started program. So when I talk about risks, and now this is mainly from the literature, and so we haven't really begun with our studies. We will go out at companies and make case studies, and we will interview government agencies and unions and a lot of different people, so also study legal documents. So this will be an ongoing project, and I hope to present more results. But you can say something about like the main health risks of algorithmic management already, I think, in a way. And you can just imagine how these instruments to direct, evaluate, and discipline, how will this affect the work environment? How will this affect the health of the workers? One risk is that algorithmic management, of course, leads to work intensification. These gamification procedures or reward mechanisms that promote you to work harder and work more could of course make work more intense to increase the workload in a way. And you compete against each other maybe, and also the risk of termination, and just the fact that you know that you're measured in every step could increase the workload. And another health risk in a way is this loss of control. Uh, when when tasks are maybe made smaller into parts, you as a worker you lose the the holistic perspective of the workplace, and maybe you just know your small part. Also, that you're guided by a system in a way, that you cannot maybe you cannot dispute the decisions you like you can with a human manager, where you can discuss what you do. So this could be lose to a loss of control, or perceived loss of control at least. And also these algorithmic management systems could make direction work much less personal. A lot of direction could be done through systems, and this leads to a decreased social support from managers. So you become more isolated at work, and don't feel like you have a sense maybe of belonging and support from both peers and managers. And this, if this is true, that these things could happen, this is of course serious, especially when you think about the occupational health and safety research that has been done for a long time, because there's one model of what kind of work in general is healthy, and what kind of work in general is dangerous, and this is called the demand control support model, and you could show it like this. And what this show, and this is based in like a lot of studies about what kind of work is most stressful and most dangerous for workers' health. And you can uh, the parameters here is like the demands of the work, like workload, how much you have to do in a way, that's work. And control is the influence you as a worker have over your work. Can you choose how to perform the work, maybe where to perform the work, or at what time? Then you have higher control, and if not, you have a lower control. And support, this is like support of managers and co-workers, like social support in a way. And so a healthy support, uh, actually the study shows that uh, demanding work can be healthy if you also have high levels of support and control. So ju just high demands in itself is not the problem. The problem is if you have a demanding work that is also low in control and low in social support, then it becomes very dangerous. And this is exactly what algorithmic management could drive to toward this this red part of the pictures. It could increase demands, it could lower the control, and it could decrease the support. So this is very important to try to steer away from this if you want to keep healthy work. And this can be, of course, for or I talked about workers, but here I mean workers in a very general sense, including also managers and professionals and everyone can also be subject to this, of course. And maybe this is the biggest risk, maybe, because of course that has been uh, blue collar work with a very low control in a way. But these algorithms also make it possible to steer in detail, maybe even white collar work in to a higher degree. So this could be less control and also and therefore a less healthy work. Okay, so this is like maybe bad news, but then we can say what's on the other side, and we're going to talk a little about and at we started out. Of course, there's a lot of regulation of AI that could mitigate these effects, and you could maybe talk about uh, three big different types of regulations. There's this like specific regulation of algorithmic management or AI that could affect the use of these systems. There are also like privacy regulations because all IAM systems requires a lot of data about the workers and how they work that also could affect that. And of course, the general labor regulation, employment regulation, occupational health and safety regulations, just because we're using AM, it's not an excuse to not follow regulation. We still have to follow all regulation. And as I said before, for this is also a very it's almost almost completed the discussions about the platform directive. So we could expect this to be adopted soon as well. And in this, of course, regulates platform work, but there is parts about algorithmic management in this, and there's like some of the regulation prohibits certain types of automated monitoring or decision-making systems, like uh, if you process data on emotional or psychological states of workers or private conversations. or if you process data to predict strikes or the exercise of the freedom to join a union or some kind of biometric data. So there's a lot of like prohibitions. There are also rules that you have to make impact assessments and also that you have to inform inform workers and also in some cases you have to have human oversight over these automated systems. And of course we have the AI Act that just have been adopted, and of course there are some prohibitions. You can't use AI system that infers emotions in a workplace, for example. And also, of course, if you use AI systems in the work for employment purposes, it will be considered a high risk system, and then you have to go to certain procedures. You have to have inform the workers, you have to have risk management systems in place, you have to test the systems, uh, you have to keep records, it has to be transparent. There's also rules about uh, uh, accuracy and robustness and cyber security. So there's of course some, but it's very much directed at the system in a way. So of course it's the use of the system that's also important. Also, privacy regulations, of course, will influence how AI system could be used. Of course, the GDPR contains a lot of provisions that could affect the use of algorithmic management about collecting, storing, processing of personal data. And there's also a specific is Article 22 that data subjects have the rights to not to be subject to decisions solely based on automated processing if it's in some cases. But this is kind of weak prohibitions, because what's solely can you just like rubber stamp have a person in between the system, or does it have to be some real human oversight of this? And also, of course, there's exceptions if it's necessary for the performance of a contract and stuff like that. So you don't not really sure how well this can be used. And also in monitoring cases, of course, the Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights protects private lives and private life, and in the case law of the European Court of Human Rights, it has been found that you have to make a test and some kind of proportionality if you monitor workers. And in the test, it's included you have to what factors you weigh in if the workers has been informed that the monitoring taking place or not. What's the extent of the surveillance? Are there legitimate reasons for monitoring? Can you make less intrusive measures? And also, what's the impact on the employee on of the monitoring and the results used? And also, if the worker has been protected from this in monitoring. And this has been used also in national court, like a Dutch court tried the case of a US firm that had a worker in the Netherlands that were required to have his camera on at all times when he worked. and this was found to. And then when he refused, he got fired. So it was tried as a termination case in a way. But then they said that this is not like a legitimate reason to fire someone, because this demand this kind of surveillance is in violation of this human right. And of course, the labor laws, there's a lot of labor laws. And here we also have maybe bigger different national differences, especially maybe in the employment protection regulations. Uh, and I've tried to look at the questions, but I will look at the questions after I will finish the presentation. Yes, employment protection regulation works different in different countries. But of course, this most countries have some kind of employment uh, protection that will prohibit this kind of automatic firing that maybe could be possible in United States. But if you're a worker in Europe, you have some kind of employment protection that will protect you from these kinds of automatic terminations procedures. And also you have workers' voice. You have the right for unions or workers or work councils to influence decisions. And I think this is very important because we still want to use the technology, but to make it good, I think it has to be unions and workers has to be involved in the application and use of the technology, and then you can reap the benefits, but without having to have all the bad parts. And of course, that's been mentioned before, also discrimination law. This is, of course, at the European level. So this is basically the same in EU countries. But of course, this is also has been known for a long time that AI recruiting or termination procedures could, or of course, guiding could lead to bias and discrimination that, of course, could be prohibited. Just because it's done by algorithm, it doesn't make it non-discriminatory. Of course, you can try these decisions under discrimination law. And of course, my specialty, occupational health and safety regulations. There's a lot of rules about risk, even if it's not like specific rules about algorithmic management or these digital systems. There are the general rules about risks assessments, and of course you have to do risk assessments before you employ these kinds of technologies. And also here, health and safety representatives or workers should be involved in the decisions of this. Before I finish, I would like to make some positive examples also of using or mitigating AM, and one is in the mining industry. These are from Sweden just because easier for me to find them, but of course there's a lot of other good examples. Uh, as part of the installation of the mining automation program, the system included underground positioning systems that could be used in rescue operation using positions tag worn by all persons underground. And this also allowed for real-time surveillance of all workers. This was employed after a non-lethal workplace accident where trapping 22 workers in a mine during an underground fire. So there was urgency to adopt measures to know where the workers are. But the the employer anticipated that there would be concerns regarding the integrity and excessive surveillance among workers and the unions. For theoretically, management could use these systems to monitor bathroom breaks or individual work efficiency. To mitigate this, the employer representative spent a lot of time discussions and anchoring the implementation of the positioning system with the unions and workers. And the unions agreed that to use the system because it could improve safety, but argued that the integrity issues need to be addressed. And uh, this this resulted that the company paid the developer of the technology to add an anonymization feature which hides the names of all workers because you could see all workers in real time on a screen, but they added an anonymization system so you couldn't see these workers, and it was agreed that the stored data on positions should only be accessible in extraordinary cases, such as the request of the police or courts, or to investigate workplace accidents and thefts. So then you could use a password to lock the data. And based on this compromise, the employer and the local unions decided a collective agreement that uh, saying that you could only use this technology as a safety feature and not to monitor the the workers. So this is a way to you have a very one of the backgrounds, of course, in this is that the mining union is a very strong union, and they also had some kind of leverage because they had to. The union had actually to allow a nighttime shift, which were required for to implement this technology, also with more automation. So they basically could stop work if the union didn't agree. So they have a lot of leverage. So it became a good compromise that satisfied workers' need in a way, still using the technology. Another example of using AI, more just using AI for good, and maybe this is for all you managers out there in a way, that maybe do shredding at sometimes. And shredding of staff at the hospital is especially difficult because there are a lot of considerations to be taken. Uh, it could be individual needs and wishes, and sometimes single parents can't work certain evenings or weekends. You have to accommodate for pickups times at preschools, manage overtime, manage sick leave, leave for research, appointments of substitutes, and also you have to follow laws and directive, including like Working Time Act and EU's Working Time Directive. So this, the ones doing this, they described it as a complicated Sudoku to solve these, and it also was done by highly competent doctors and nurses that actually had no real education in scheduling. So it could take be a full-time job just to do the schedule. But still, it didn't become optimal. So because of that, they have started to experimentate with the AI AI supported scheduling system. Uh, that and there has also in this case there has been a lot of meetings between the workers, the ones who work with the schedules, and the developer of the system. So the system has been in a way developed in coordination with